and welcome to the NFT Jungle. I am Emma, aka Nifty Meta Girl, and on today's episode, I'm bringing you episode 5 of our 12-part series where we are featuring photographers and photographs that are currently being displayed in Venice Finale in Venice, Italy. Now, Venice Finale is a really amazing art exhibit that happens every 2 years and takes over a huge portion of the Venice downtown area. So super excited to be sponsoring this exhibit in conjunction with SuperChief to be able to feature NFT photography there in an in-real-life gallery experience. Now, this particular exhibit is titled Discovering Photography in Web3 and has been curated to help show off some of the top photographers in the NFT space, and also a wide genre of photography because we want to share our passion for photography with the world. I worked with AlphaTrilogy on curating this amazing exhibit, and all of the images that we are highlighting are actually collected by AlphaTrilogy and have been pulled from his vault. So really, really great way of being able to shine some light on the photographers that are working hard to create this amazing ecosystem in Web3 and to be able to share their amazing work. And so we are doing this 12-part series as well here on the podcast to be able to talk a little bit more about the photographers that are highlighted and also talk about their incredible work and share a little bit about why we may have chosen the photos that we did. And a fun detail, we do hope that this is the first of many in real life exhibits and opportunities to be able to highlight photographers within the NFT space. So with that introduction, I would like to go ahead and jump right in and we will get to our first photographer. And this episode is devoted to 8 landscape photographers and we'll be sharing 8 unique landscape photographs. And the overall genre of landscape will also include some subgenres you'll notice throughout this particular series. We have some that would be probably considered self-portrait and some subgenres. But overall, we really feel like landscape is a genre that a lot of people can connect with. Oftentimes, it's capturing the natural beauty around us and sharing that appreciation for the beauty that we are surrounded by, and especially for some of these photographers in the beautiful areas that they live in. So really excited to be able to share and highlight these photographs with you. So with that, we'll hop into our first artist, and this is Ivan Pedretti. And Ivan is a multidisciplinary award-winning photographer from Sardinia, Italy. A few of these awards and accomplishments include winner of the Sony World Photography Awards in the panoramic category, first place at the Moscow International Photo Award in 2014 in the panoramic category as well, and has been published in Time magazine. And he has shared with us that while studying chemical engineering and working in IT, he discovered a passion for wildlife photography in 2010. And after winning a major international award in 2014, he made the decision to pursue photography as a full-time job. Since this decision, Ivan has won many important awards in nature and landscape photography and says that becoming a full-time photographer has been the best decision he could have ever made. And we are excited he has chosen to do so as well because he's able to capture some absolutely amazing images and we benefit from being able to see them. Now, the piece that we selected for this exhibit is from the collection The Green Symphony and is entitled Green Symphony Number 10. And it is an image that was captured in Iceland and of the Aurora Borealis, which is one of my absolutely favorite natural phenomenons, and I hope one day to be able to visit and see this myself. But in the meantime, I'll just have to enjoy these beautiful images captured by pros like Ivan. Now, in the description, he mentions that over 6 years, he spent many nights in Iceland and Lofton hunting for the aurora. He says, I was always been fascinated by the northern lights, and especially in special places in Iceland, like the wreckage of the airplane, which I am very much attached to. The Green Symphony, I named it Green Symphony because of the movement of the green waves of the light in the sky, and it seems to follow almost a sweet music. Now, we have to agree with Ivan that there does seem to be a soft music playing in the background that the lights are moving along to. This piece, the lights captured are just absolutely gorgeous, and, being at the end of this beautiful landscape, it's just an incredible image. And AlphaTrilogy has shared a quote saying, "A beautiful night sky by a photographer that loves and respects night skies." And I think that sums it up pretty well. But Ivan, again, is a very accomplished photographer and very happy to include this particular image. And with him being based out of Italy, hopefully he can come and see this exhibit himself. Now, the next photographer that we are featuring, his name is Houston Vandergriff, and Houston is a photographer based out of Knoxville, Tennessee, and he has actually traveled far and wide with hopes of his photography inspiring others to live life to the fullest with compassion, which is really cool. Houston has a really amazing and inspiring story. In fact, AlphaTrilogy has said that not one person in Web3 has inspired me as much as Houston. It's amazing how good his photos shows surrounded by giants. It's deserving of this space. And Houston, in the description for Houston's collection, we do learn more about him as a person, and he's someone that I have absolutely enjoyed getting to know through social media and getting to experience just the way that he lives life to the fullest. But Houston has a chromosomal condition known as Down syndrome, and says that when he was born, every doctor seemed to cite to their own long list of things he might never do. But defying all dire predictions, today Houston is a globe-trotting travel photographer. And at the age of 23, he has traveled to all 95 counties in his home state of Tennessee, to 49 of the 50 United States, to 5 Canadian provinces, and to 26 countries. And most recently, he also traveled to the southern part of France to attend the Siena Photography Awards. He's also representing many other photo clubs across the country, and he is just such an absolute inspiration. You definitely need to follow Downs and Towns on Twitter because he is sharing his travels with us and is always up to something absolutely amazing. But because of the low muscle tone from Down syndrome, his speech is sometimes difficult to understand. But through his photography, he's able to share his view of the world without actually saying a single word. Houston inspires others both inside and outside of the disability community. He's a strong self-advocate who uses the universal language of arts to push inclusion. By sharing his gift of photography, he is also sharing the gift of hope, the hope of knowing that everything is going to be okay. He also wants to help those who do not have the opportunity to visit the places he photographs to be able to experience them. And Houston earned his certificate of photography in 2019 and his advanced photography certificate in 2020 after completing more than 200 hours studying through the University of Tennessee professional programs. He's a member of the Southern Appalachian Nature Photographers, and the International Travel Writers and Photographers Alliance. He has donated his images for both domestic and international charitable initiatives. Now, that is a lot to mention about Houston, but again, he is just such an amazing spirit and someone that really, really does touch you as you get to know him. He and his mom, Katie, have just been such an amazing group to get to know. Houston, I first got to know Houston while he was participating in Together, the collective that AlphaTrilogy curated. Houston participated in that collective, and his mom, Katie, provided a lot of support for actually organizing some of the details for the collective, providing descriptions, and they're just amazing, amazing people. But also Houston is a very, very talented photographer. Now, the piece that we decided to include for this particular exhibit is from the collection MoMA by Houston Vandergriff, also known as Downs and Towns, and the image is entitled Rage. Now, this is a beautiful image of a storm that Houston was able to capture, and the description adds some additional details that I think are really significant to the beautiful image. It says that summer in Montana can bring a variety of weather. The weekend before we arrived, a fresh blanket of snow covered the highest mountains. The week we visited, rain spotted the entire area. Most people don't like rain, with the possible exceptions of farmers and photographers. On this particular evening, we grabbed the camera and tripod and hiked to the top of a hill for a better view of the sunset over the mountains to the west. Instead of the sunset, we found a storm, a raging summer storm. In the distance, lightning flashed at irregular intervals and thunder rolled across the valley. Houston had never tried storm photography, so we decided to give it a shot, pun intended. One of the conditions of Down syndrome is low muscle tone. This makes relatively simple actions like walking and talking much more difficult. It also affects the fine motor skills and reaction times, but that has never stopped us from trying. Houston stood on that hill with a storm approaching and snapped photos, generally 1 to 5 seconds after the lightning. We probably have 500 images from that hill, all similar and all dark, difficult to see on the camera screen. But when we got home and downloaded the images on the computer, a miracle occurred. Out of the 500 images, this one has lightning. It was there, it is real. And fortunately, we didn't get struck by any of it. But they've done such a beautiful job of highlighting this amazing experience, and also such a testament of hope, but also continuing to reach your goals and to strive and not let anything hold you back. And Houston is just such a great example of continuing to push forward and creating this opportunity. And so something that we can all find encouragement from. So thank you, Houston, so much for being such a strong force in this space, but also for creating such a beautiful image. And so as we're creating a curated exhibit of landscape, this was such a fitting image to include, but the story behind it just makes it that much more significant. Now, the next artist that we are featuring within the exhibit is a notable storm photographer. Her name is Jessica Moore, and Jessica is actually a meteorologist and a professional photographer based out of Colorado Springs, Colorado. She's a native to the beautiful state and has grown up experiencing quite the range of dramatic and exciting weather, which sparked her passion for capturing it with her camera. And her passion is being in the field, documenting and reporting all modes of extreme weather, from fires and floods to blizzards, hailstorms, and tornadoes. And she has worked for Weather Nation TV as a field correspondent for over a year, and her extreme weather footage has been seen on the Weather Channel, ABC, NBC, CNN, CBS, and more. And so now she actually is a full-time dedicated NFT artist, and she's selling her dramatic once-in-a-lifetime storm images digitally on the blockchain. And it is really amazing that this is something that she is able to actually add the provenance to her photographs, and NFTs do help solve the issue that artists face sometimes of being able to actually have images that they have taken being attributed to them. So it's really exciting to see that she has also understood all of the issues that the NFT side can help solve, and being able to come in and show others how that is actually being utilized to show provenance, and also to retain the licensing that may be needed for particular photographs. And the image that we have selected is actually from a collection that several in this series that we're highlighting today actually were minted within. And it's a collection called Calibration. And this is a really cool initiative that was done for a fellow NFT photographer whose name is Caleb McKinney. And as we're all beginning to learn in the NFT space, unfortunately, there's times in which people are rugged, or they're scammed, or there's something that happens happens along the way. And Caleb actually fell victim to this situation and experienced this where he lost all of his ETH one day unexpectedly. But the artists that contributed pieces to this particular collection were out on a mission to not let something like that stand in the way of what we're creating here in Web3. And so they actually came together quickly and formed a collection of beautiful artwork that as it was collected, they would be donating the proceeds to Caleb to help replace the ETH that he lost. Now, the title of this piece is Desolation, and it is a beautiful, beautiful piece. I love the texture of the grass and how it is highlighted there with the light, the beautiful old barn, but also that crazy, crazy sky that's above it. And in the description, Jessica explained that the moment being captured in this photo is a developing supercell that looms in the distance behind this abandoned farmhouse in rural eastern Colorado. She says wind blows through the wheat fields softly, causing them to appear as rolling waves of grain. Birds sing happily to each other, seemingly unaware of the impending danger, or perhaps like me, they welcome the storm, its rejuvenating rains, and its electrically charged atmosphere. The beautiful desolation is where my soul finds peace and solitude. And she does such a great job of explaining this beautiful, beautiful piece. And Alpha says about this, it looks like the clouds are pointing at the barn, which has withstood a century of storms. Will it hold up again to another? But very, very beautiful piece, and happy to include some of Jessica's very beautiful storm photography within this particular collection. Now, the next artist that we are featuring is a Canadian adventure and landscape photographer named Vincent Schnabl. He has always loved all things outdoors, especially skiing, climbing, hiking, and photography. And he's been a photographer for the last 10 years. He is constantly inspired by nature and always looking for new places to explore. His goal is to share the beauty of Earth that he gets to experience with the world. And Vincent is a very, very notable photographer. We see his work often in the Twitter sphere and always enjoy it very much. And the particular piece that we included is another piece from Calibration. So again, he's one of the artists that came together to be able to work as a community to raise funds to help out our buddy Caleb and be able to replace what he lost. But this piece is called Golden Pinnacles. An absolutely gorgeous landscape with the reflection there and the way that he's captured everything that's still remaining. The details remain so gorgeous, but yet the light shines up above the mountain. But what Vince has to say about this particular piece is, in my eyes, there's not much more beautiful than watching a sunrise in the mountains with nobody else around. You feel humbled, at peace, and overcome by a sense of wonder. The moment doesn't last long, usually only a few minutes, but you are glad it happened. For a brief instant, all of our troubles of the world seemingly disappear, and it was just you in a place at that time. And Alpha's quote for this particular piece is a beautiful mountainscape framed with a perfect combo of dark clouds and light and a muted and abstract reflection. This is what makes life special. So a really beautiful piece, and the message is so lovely to include in this kind of collection. But Vince is a very, very talented photographer, and I've enjoyed so many of his pieces that he shares with us are capturing different extreme areas as he is enjoying his passion of skiing and snowboarding. But he's a really, really great person to get to know. So very happy to include that in this particular exhibit. Now, our next photographer that we're highlighting is a landscape photographer based out of Vancouver Island, British Columbia, and his name is Shaun Stewart. And Shaun's work is absolutely gorgeous. His background is in education and adventure tourism, which he now uses to create private photography tours to backcountry wilderness areas. And he often tours guide participants to exceptional wilderness destinations with world-class photography opportunities on Vancouver Island and abroad. So definitely a good person to know. This particular piece that we have selected for this collection is called Mirror of Mountains, and it is from his Dusk Till Dawn collection, Wonders of Night. And I absolutely love being out under the stars and out in the wilderness. And Shaun is a master at capturing these moments. And this particular piece could probably be classified as a self-portrait landscape, since we do see his figure there in this beautiful piece. But it also really puts into perspective everything that is around him. And I do love that he decided to capture it with that ratio there. But he shares about this collection. There's a magical feeling I get when I go out to photograph the night sky. Everything is still. I gaze upon the vast expanse of the universe in utter astonishment. Whether I'm photographing the Milky Way or the aurora borealis, the phenomenon of the night sky always leaves me contemplating my place in the universe. For this particular piece, he says that leaving the Moraine Lake parking lot at the 23rd hour, we begin our ascent of the Valley of the 10 Peaks by the light of our headlamps. In summer, the days are long and the nights incredibly short, so you must wait out until after midnight before it is dark enough to view the Milky Way. We hiked through the large valley full of excitement and a slight paranoia of the high probability of grizzlies in the area. At last, we arrived at the glassy Menestema Lake, high in the valley overlooking the infamous 10 Peaks. The clouds were abundant but starting to dissipate, leaving me hopeful that they would clear and allow us to see the Milky Way. After some patience, the light mountain winds blew the clouds apart long enough to capture some unobstructed views of the stars, which so beautifully reflected upon the mirror lake waters of Menestema. And Alpha says about this particular piece, Shaun captured heavens and earth, mountains, water, and celestial glory. So very well put, Alpha, and love the description that Shaun includes both with the collection and with the piece. It's always wonderful to hear about what the artist was experiencing as they were working on capturing the particular piece. But this is just such a beautiful, beautiful piece, and it just makes you wish that you could also share that experience and visit this location. But beautiful work, Shaun, and again, happy to include that piece in this part of the exhibit. Now, our next photographer, his name is Cameron McPhee. And Cameron is a self-taught photographer based out of Australia, and he specializes both in photography and digital art. And this particular collection is called Lonely Roads, and it's a collection of 50 previously unreleased photographs that Cameron shot over the years while traveling through Australia. And it is really a beautiful collection. Many are capturing, like this one, different roadside images of usually nature and weather conditions. But in this particular piece, the texture of the ground paired with the storm that is happening up above, it's just such a beautiful, beautiful image. And this particular piece is called 8-Second Dream, and he says about it that he shot it on the afternoon of the 17th of January in 2016 in Longreach, QLD. So absolutely a gorgeous image, and one that was so fitting for the curation of this particular set of this exhibit. So I'm happy that Cameron has introduced us into the NFT community, and I'm really happy to highlight it as well. Now, our next photographer is, his name is James Andrew, and he is a landscape photographer based out of Alberta, Canada. And James Andrew is a very active outdoorsman, and he also spends time with his young family, but is a very talented landscape photographer, again, capturing these beautiful, beautiful images in these remote areas, but a way of really capturing the texture and the light and creating an amazing, amazing image. But this particular piece is another one from the Calibration collection, which you can tell that the friends that came together to create the collection, they were really focused on sharing such quality work because of the amount of pieces that were collected out of this particular collection. But the piece that we have selected for this exhibit is called Streamline, and I just love, again, the textures, the tones, the colors that are captured in this beautiful nighttime image. And James shares about this. This composite represents the ups and downs we have in life. One minute you feel like you're finally getting ahead in life, and then a curveball comes your way and you have to pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and keep going. amazing. This image is part of a bigger picture, a collection of images from artists, all trying to help someone near and dear to our hearts who is going through a hard time. And I just love that the Calibration collection really does lend to the community spirit that we experience here within the Web3 community, and does make it such a unique place to be building an ecosystem in, because really it is so much about community. And again, we all have different challenges that face us, but as we are working together, we can hopefully offset the bad with amazing good. And Alpha's quote about this piece that he has shared is, "Mountains, trees, stream, and celestial glory with a splash of color and light." Love it. Well said and simple, but yes, that is all that's needed to be said about this particular piece. So great work, James Andrew, and another gorgeous, gorgeous landscape piece to highlight the nature around us. Now, our next photographer is Christian Hoiberg, and Christian is a Norwegian landscape photographer living north of the Arctic Circle. And he says that being outdoors with or without a camera is his meditation, and bringing us along his journey is a privilege. And really, the privilege is ours, because Christian is an amazing photographer and he visits some absolutely incredible locations. But he spends the winter season guiding photography workshops in the picturesque areas of northern Norway and along the Arctic borders. And that's the highlight of his year. He says that he gets to help like-minded people capture beautiful images of some of the world's most amazing landscapes. So when he's not on tour, he says he likes pressing buttons on the keyboard, trying to formulate tutorials and content for his website, capturelandscape.com, a website where he teaches the skills needed to improve photography through high-quality landscape photography tutorials. And he has millions of readers that have since found this content very, very useful, and he's very proud to have been a part of their journey to be a better photographer. And if you can't tell from that, Christian is a very friendly and a very, very kind person. It's been great to get to know him in the NFT community, and he's definitely someone that we always enjoy getting to interact with, but he does stay out in nature so often that his presence is missed at times, but we always know that he's out creating something else absolutely incredible. And so the collection that we're highlighting here in this series is Tales of the Arctic Night by Christian Hoiberg, and the particular piece is entitled Arctic Nights. And the lights that he is able to capture in the night sky is just amazing. Again, Christian is just such an incredible photographer. It's just amazing the areas that he's able to visit and what he's able to capture. For the collection, he said, "I still remember the first time I witnessed the Northern Lights. It was an unexplainable sensation where all I could do was shout out in pure excitement. I've since located north of the Arctic Circle, where I have the pleasure to witness hundreds of incredible displays in the night sky. That initial excitement is still there. You can't help but smile and stare, mesmerized as the sky turns green and various shapes and patterns spread in all directions. But it was until late 2020 that I connected with the Northern Lights at a deeper level. It was when everything was at the darkest that the Northern Lights became a symbol of hope, a light in the dark. Staring up at the aurora has a meditative effect. It's healing. I found that no matter what I was dealing with, and it did not matter once the Northern Lights began. It became symbolic." So it's just absolutely amazing, his connection with nature and the way that he's able to share with us that it can be such a sense of hope and healing. And one, I think that we all can relate with that, even if we're not experiencing such a beautiful phenomenon, but a reason many of us enjoy being in the outdoors. But with this particular piece, he explains in the description that he generally tends to avoid human-made elements in his photography, especially for photographs of the Northern Lights. However, there are some exceptions, and this particular piece is one of those. He says there are a few scenarios that are more typical for the Lofton Islands than this: the red cabins, the mountains, and the Northern Lights. It's a perfect description of Arctic paradise. And he said, pulling off this image isn't as straightforward as one would think, especially not not on a snowless autumn day where the landscape is more or less pitch black. Getting it all in one shot requires very special conditions, a strong display of northern lights being one of them. He said, well, one could not complain about the northern lights this night. I was leading a small workshop with a handful of eager photographers and looking at the forecast. We knew it would be a long night. We were packed and ready to go immediately after dinner. The plan was to visit a couple of beaches and a mountain view, but the first stop was this viewpoint right next to our accommodation. The bright lights in the sky were illuminating the landscape, bringing out the details in the traditional fisherman cabins. My mind couldn't help but wander off and envision what it would be like to stand here hundreds of years ago, back in a day where people didn't know the scientific explanations of the northern lights, a time when children and adults didn't dare to misbehave under the lady in green in fear of being swept away by her. The night couldn't have been turned out any better than what it did. Northern lights that danced vividly all night long and with no indication of stopping until we crawled back to our beds in complete exhaustion. So again, you can tell Christian not only is a very talented photographer, very passionate about what he does, but also really enjoys sharing how special these moments are with all of us. And it does make you want to visit this particular area and be able to see this firsthand. And Alpha shares with us amazing compositions that throw humanity, community, and civilization into the story alongside Northern Lights, which were normally only viewed in context of isolation. So great way to sum up this beautiful image. But that is the last of the 8 images that we are highlighting in this particular episode. Again, this is episode 5, and each of these episodes is representing one of the slides being included in this in real life exhibit happening at Venice Biennale. And the reason that we have done this way is to be able to, again, highlight the artist and the photography. But in this in real life exhibit, there's going to be a 6-minute series shown, and in that 6 minutes, we're highlighting these 12 different slides, which are becoming these 12 different episodes of the podcast. But we're providing this additional information to really give some insight into why we are sharing these particular pieces. This is our 3rd episode highlighting landscape photography and some subgenres of landscape photography. But it's been great to be able to share some beautiful places around this gorgeous world captured by some really, really inspiring and talented photographers. We hope that you enjoyed this. We want you to hopefully like, share, subscribe, and also all of the contact information for the artist is included in the show notes, so please check that out and explore some of these other amazing collections. And please stay tuned for episode 6. You can check out the previous episodes on our channel there, but turn on that notification bell so you are notified for the following episodes. We have 6 more to share with you. So thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this, and we will see you next time.